Hi, I'm Cory Snyder, head of partnerships here at teamwork.com. And in the first 3 months, we doubled our partner count. In the next 12 months, we're going to 3.5x our partner count, as well as 6.5 our revenues. And the way we're going to do that is through removing a ton of inefficiencies, adding a ton of go-to-market activities, but also, and more importantly, partnering with sales, marketing, and customer success to drive revenue to and through partners. With that in mind, we have 3 individuals that work for teamwork.com. It's myself running strategy, talking with partners and working with partners directly to drive revenue. We have a partner acquisition person who's out there acquiring partners. She's out hunting, doing the thing to drive volume for us. And then the last person, that probably the most important person in reality on the team, is our partner enablement and onboarding person. This person is specifically focused on how do we get them up and running on product knowledge as fast as possible, and then how do we get them up and running on go-to-market in the sense of how does Teamwork position themselves in the market. So those are the 3 individuals that are driving this 3.5x on partner growth and 6.5x on revenue growth. In addition to that, we didn't actually spend any additional money. What we did is we looked at it from a perspective of how do we get more efficient with what we have. So there's been that saying that's been going around for the last many days or the last many years, which is do more with less. That is not the intentions. Our intentions were to do more with what we have. And that is by removing inefficiencies, putting in efficiencies. And so we didn't actually have to spend any additional money to do what we did in the first 3 quarters. I will go over what we're going to spend in 2024, which is reality just on 1 to 2 tools, and that's it. Anybody can implement this strategy in reality, right? Even if you have a different industry, a different product that you have, or a different program that you have, a lot of these methodologies that I've implemented, these tactics, you can actually implement today. And a lot of it is actually, funny enough, throwing spaghetti on the wall, right? The goal is to get 80% of your product or your program finished. Once you're there, you can then figure out your 20% based on your specific industry. So we're going to talk a little bit about the spaghetti on the wall methodology and ideas.
If that resonates with you, listen along. Also, check out our other episodes. You're listening to TLDR, the B2B SaaS growth podcast brought to you by Spear Growth. The goal of the podcast is to enable you, our listeners, to generate an additional $100,000 in cumulative pipeline by May 2024. To do this, we bring people who have made a real impact in their companies. They cut through the fluff and dive deep into one tactic or strategy of theirs. I'm your host, Ishan. Let's generate pipeline.
Hey, Cory, thank you so much for doing this. I think the first time we discussed ideas in general about partnerships was when I heard you speak at one of our closed door events. And that's when I knew I don't know partnerships, because I was very proud of, hey, we've built a great partnership network. We have great partners. We're getting a few referrals and we're doing some co-marketing. And I was very happy about that. Then I heard you talk about it. I'm like, oh, wait, we're not doing anything. So I'm so glad to have you talk about this here.
Yeah, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I mean, a lot of having a successful partner program is actually just launching one, right? Also asking a ton of questions. The people I respect the most in the partnership community are the ones that are asking constantly, like, what questions, how do I build a partner program? Why did you do this? Did it work? Did it not work? Asking some of the tough questions, I think that's who I respect. So I respect you and the partner program you've built, because you literally are asking the right questions. You're putting on these podcasts. You're really pressure testing these partnership leaders to say, okay, how did you do it? And then you're giving all this knowledge to the world, which I appreciate.
Well, I really appreciate that, Cory. So just very quickly, can you introduce yourself in a short, a couple of lines? Yeah.
Tweet style. I'm Cory Snyder. I've been doing partnerships since about 2008, 2010, long before it was cool. Mostly in the email marketing space, although I've differentiated over the last couple of years into different spaces, different types of partner programs, from tech to affiliate, referral partner to solution agencies and resellers. But yeah, I've been doing that for many, many years and love what I do. It's become more of a passion project at this point, and trying to share with any and everybody what I do and how I've done it.
Love that. Perfect. So let's dive right into the project that you've done. So I think it's we can break it down into two parts and just let me know if it's accurate. So you've joined Teamwork now. It's and you'll basically share the first 3 months of your work there, and then also the second large bit could be like the future plans, right? Is that a good way to think about it?
Yeah, that's a perfect way to think about it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so when you joined, what did you inherit? Like, what was the team? What was the program? What was the setup that you inherited?
Yeah, for the most part, it was a brand new program. It was, really in its infancy, sub a year old. And this is part of that whole respect, right? Launching a program, right?
Mhm.
Logan jumped in. He had picked my brain here and there throughout a year to launch this program. Said, hey, what would you do and how would you do it? Funny enough, I ended up working there on a program I got to touch a little bit. But Logan did a great job at least getting it off the ground. But there's a level of experience that you kind of
Mhm.
that you surpass, right? Okay, now I don't know what necessarily to do. I've never been a partner manager.
Mhm.
I've never built a partner program. And so about a year in, they said, okay, let's accelerate growth. Logan is extremely skilled at podcasting and at partner or at doing evangelism. So we're going to go ahead and leverage his expertise, and we're going to bring somebody in that can then scale it. And so for the most part, from a numbers perspective, we were doing about 100K in revenue, and we finished the year at about 130K in revenue, and we had about 40 partners.
Well, by the way, I really appreciate the transparency on numbers. So, in the partnership team, it was only so you were you the first member, or you mentioned there were three people who worked in the project.
Yes.
Did they already were they part of the team already?
They were. So for the most part, and we have one open headcount now that we're hopefully going to fill this week. But um, for the most part, the partner enablement person was added last year, early last year, and then the partner acquisition person was added at the end of, I believe, Q3 to join the team.
Okay, perfect. So you joined. You were the last, like amongst the three folks. You joined
Yes.
the latest.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. And okay, so I think that helps. And then what did the partnership like program look like in terms of I'm not, I think you're probably better at me than breaking it down, but in terms of maybe number of partners or structure or active
Yeah.
partners or or like if there's any like revenue or skills being driven from it, what just give us a lay of the land. What does that look like?
Yeah, good question. Um, for the most part, one is we had to define some of this stuff. So we had to define what's our definition of active partner. And I'm a big fan of just saying this is what it's going to be for the next 6 months to a year, and that's the way we're going to go off of it, and we're going to drive on that number. And I'll explain the methodology behind it when I think about how am I going to 6.5x my number and how does it apply, and you'll kind of see like, oh, I see what
Hmm.
Cory's doing. But yeah, so we had about again 3 people on the team, 40-ish partners. We managed specifically. My ownership is only on solution partners, which are agencies, professional services, resellers, things like that. So that was our program. It was for the most part built right. Commission structure was set up. There was legal documents set up that needed to be tweaked and kind of fixed. But where we were missing was we were extremely inefficient. We were inefficient on the acquisition side and not leveraging our tools with automation. We were not efficient on I wouldn't say we weren't efficient on the
Hmm.
certifying our partners. I think we became inefficient quickly, right?
Hmm.
When you go from doing a handful of one-to-one certifications, which is what we're doing, to 40 people because of what we did in Q4, it becomes inefficient, right? And you open up these gaps. And that's probably the biggest thing I'm a fan of. And this is what I tell my team. We're going to put something in place, we're going to break it, we're going to find a gap, and then we're going to fill that gap, and then then it's going to go, and then it's going to break, something else is going to break,
Yeah.
and we're going to fill that gap. And that's literally what we're doing is we're patching holes in this partner program as we build it. You can't assume that you're going to get it perfect right off the bat. Even me, 13 years of doing this, I still look at it from a perspective of 80% done. The next
Yeah.
20% we're going to fill throughout the next 12 months. So that's kind of how the team was sitting and how we're kind of inefficient. And then obviously we can dive into the specifics of the
Mhm.
inefficiencies and how we put those efficiencies in. But yeah.
That's actually very helpful. So, I think the inefficiencies will get covered as we discuss what are the steps you took, right? So, I think
Mhm.
I think this is a very good. Is there anything else we should know about what existed? Otherwise, I can just ask, hey, what were the things you did?
Yeah, I would also add, obviously, with 3 people in a role and doing only about 130K by end of the 2023, obviously we're not a profitable team, right? So the stress is there, but it does tell you that the investment is there, that the executive team does believe in partnerships and has seen the light, if you will.
Hmm.
And so I think that is a benefit, although I built plenty of programs and been plenty successful without executive alignment. But in this scenario, I would add I do have executive alignment.
I love that you say you've done it without executive alignment, because that's probably the most impressive thing I've heard from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
difficult.
Yes. And it's partially because you're for a partner program, you should be building from the ground up. And when I say that, I mean working with the account executives, working with the CSMs, working with the account managers. That is where you're going to find 99% of your success. And then you use all the data and you use all those voices, that army,
Mhm.
to say how amazing a partner program is, and you use all of that to get what you need, i.e., headcount, resources, funding, right?
Yeah.
Too often we start from the top and say this is why partners are so important, versus building that kind of like testimonials, if you will, in your own
Yeah.
reputation. So
Perfect. That was a great 30-second answer to, hey, what do I do? My exec team, my management team does not believe in partnerships. So
yes.
love that. Uh, Coming into, I think, the execution. So could you break down what over the 3 months, right? What are the major? Obviously, you did a lot of things. We cannot talk about everything, but what are the major things you really did?
I would say the first thing I did is I went and I met with my individual teammates to get an understanding of what are they frustrated with, right? What's eating their time? So I asked them to put together information around what are they doing on a daily. And I said, this is not me wanting to micromanage. This is me trying to help you figure out how do we get crap that shouldn't be on your plate, off your plate, basically. So that was the first step. Okay, what are you guys frustrated with? In addition to that, I asked them, what do you guys foresee? What do you see in the future for this partner program? Like, what are your goals? What are you wanting to accomplish? And what do you want to be a part of? Right? Because it can't be always negative. So my goal
Yeah.
is to say, what's the positive side of the house? So that was the first thing. Okay, understand what they feel their frustrations are. The next thing we did is we built at teamwork.com, we do project management. So we built our board. We built out all of the things that we're working on and all the stuff that needs to be done and who's assigned to what. And so part of that was me saying, okay, I need to dig into partner management. What has Logan done? What are we doing? What are we not doing? And where are their gaps?
Mhm.
On partner enablement, what are we doing? What are we not doing? What are gaps? And what are we going to run into in the future? If we scale to 300 partners by end of year, what are we going to break and where's the problems going to happen, right? And then on partner acquisition, great. Okay, what's the process? What are we doing there, right? So my first 30 days were a big level of understanding what is the foundation, where are we starting, right? And then from there, I basically just started asking a ton of questions around why do we do it this way? What is the methodology around why? Instead of just saying that's stupid and just kind of slamming it, I'm asking the questions around why. And what the response was is because that's just what we do, which is totally fine because that was what they knew what to do,
Yeah.
right? That's the reason why you have people that have gone through this many times that can say, that's great. There are ways to get efficient with this and we can save you a ton of time. So basically my goal in the first 3 quarters or the first quarter of Q4 was not only to remove a bunch of inefficiencies, was not
Mhm.
only to help my people's bandwidth and mental state, but it was also to do massive amounts of growth while reducing bandwidth, right? And so
Yeah.
that's basically what I did is I went role by role by role and said, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Why are we doing it?
I actually love this because almost everything you said is more of understanding people, processes, and
Yeah.
optimizations, and just setting up the best practices. The target that you mentioned, that hey, it needs to scale from X to Y. Can you repeat that? And how was the target set?
Yeah. So originally there was goals set for 2023 that we just
Hmm.
didn't achieve, right? And
Yeah.
that's again just a knowledge gap, which is totally
Yeah.
fine. Going into 2024, funny enough, when I interviewed for my position, I built an actual revenue doc for 2024. Part of my interview was, here's how I would do it. Here's what I would do. Here's the percentage of active partners. Here's how many opportunities we need. Here's the ASP we need by deal. And here's how many partners that we're going to do it, right? But my methodology was very, very simple. I need 4,000 ASP from 300 partners. That gets me 850K, if not more, right? So it's very simple. One deal.
Sorry, what's an ASP?
Average sale price.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So technically, that's what we use terminology internally, but really what it is, I need 4,000 in ARR per partner. Yeah. So really that's about one deal. So if I can get one deal from 300 partners, which arguably should not be that hard, right? When partners come to partner with you, 99% of the time it's because they have somebody interested or one of their clients uses you, right? So that's what I have to figure out is, okay, what's my onboarding or what's my process? And we've already started dialing this in.
Yeah.
What's my process to getting their first deal as fast as possible? And it starts with partner acquisition. If partner acquisition isn't asking, great, do you have anybody interested in moving forward now with teamwork.com so I can let Cory know he can help you get pricing and move that along, right? We got alignment on our goals for 2024 across the team. My partner acquisition person, Melody, she said, what's the KPIs? What is the definition of success for our team? Which I freaking love, because there's self-awareness there on it's not just about me, right? And I said, it's 850K and 300 partners. She's like, great, I'm going to change everything I'm doing from an education standpoint, from an onboarding standpoint, to align with getting revenue as fast as possible, right? So now I have the team, we've removed a bunch of inefficiencies. Now I have the team fully aligned on what we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, that was pretty simple. It was 300 partners, which is obviously we're going after quantity at this point in time. And it was 4,000 in ARR per partner.
And that's actually very interesting. I've never thought of like ASP per partner as a metric, because I was expecting that, hey, you would, as you onboard folks, there's going to be some sort of a distribution that, hey, these are best partners, these are just horrible partners and they bring nothing, and these best ones bring everything, and then there are a few who sometimes bring something, and that wasn't taken into your projections essentially.
Yeah, it's and the reason why it's not is because that's a given, right? 70% of your revenue comes from 30% of your partners. But if I can just put a focus on, I need one deal from every single partner. And keep in mind, I'm trying to give deals back to my partners as well. So I'm trying to funnel them stuff internally. So it's not just a one-sided partnership.
Yeah.
But if I could just focus on that, how do I get them success? How do I get them a customer on their belt? If I do that and I have every partner at 4,000 in ARR, that's 1.2 million out of 300 partners, right? So not only I've destroyed my number, right? But I'm assuming that's not going to happen. But that's what I'm focused on, right?
Yeah.
I have some partners that will do. Also, you want to look at partner profiles. I have some partners that are going to sell 3 deals a year, and they're going to generate 50 to 100 grand a year. I'm going to have some partners that are going to generate 30 deals and do 50 to 100 grand, right? Yeah. So there's 2 different IPPs, profile types, that I'm building out also as we go through this. So like I said, we're in our inefficiencies. We are in our infancy. So we could make a shot in the dark on our partner profile, but 40 partners is not enough data points to say this is what it is, right? So that's kind of the methodology behind why we're doing what we're doing in 2024, that is.
Perfect. And just to clarify, if you had information on partners, would you have built a separate quote unquote program for smaller versus larger partners? Or how you
I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have built it that way, but I would have. So like, as actually the perfect example of one of the inefficiencies that we added in was we knew who our partners were. We did not know what they did, which is a massive gap. Right? Yeah. I can't go ask my success team, hey, if you have a customer ask about integrations or implementation work or website or ads or Facebook, whatever. If I don't know who does that, that's a problem. So what we did is we dialed in our application process, right? So part of our acquisition issue was that the flow was completely broken. Basically, the process was Caroline would work the opportunity in HubSpot, the prospective partner.
Mm-hmm.
She would work it, and when they're ready to get going, she would then send them 2 DocuSigns. One was an NDA, one was a partnership agreement. The crappy part about that is we already had confidentiality inside of the partnership agreement, so we actually didn't even need to send the NDA.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that, so we were sending it out. So when I started, I read the contract, was like, we don't need this NDA. I worked with my legal team to make sure we're good, and we were. So that was step 1. We removed 1 doc. Step 2 was when they sent out the DocuSign, she was manually close oneing it. She was manually inviting them to PartnerStack. She was manually doing the email introduction to myself and Melody. And then she was manually submitting a task to request our dev team to build out a sandbox. All of things manual. So what we did is we said, let's leverage the tools that we have, right? So now she works the opportunity inside of HubSpot. As soon as they're ready to sign up, she sends them the link for the application for PartnerStack, which gives me all of their profile type information. So I'm asking size of company, revenues of the company, how many sellers you have in the company, a bunch of this profile type information, products and services that you offer. So I can start developing my own IPP, or at least the start of it, right? Yeah. So we have the application process. The benefit here is that as soon as they sign up, it automatically closes out the opportunity as closed won, signed up. It automatically triggers the introductions to myself and Melody. It automatically leveraging we have an integration with HubSpot, leveraging our own personal integration. We automatically apply a task to our dev team to create a sandbox account. I've literally, it automatically updates the inside of HubSpot. It automatically updates the primary contact for the partner. It updates the program, and it updates active status, right? So I basically taken at least an hour per partner off of her plate, which has allowed her to go from doing 5 to 8 partners a month to 15 partners a month, and adding 30 plus people to the pipeline, because now it's efficient. Now we have a process, and she's not doing a bunch of these manual tasks. And I figured that out when I started sitting on calls with her, when I started following the process with her. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Da, 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 da. And that was just one of the things that we said in Q3, we're going to do that. And she went from doing, we did the obviously the largest quarter we've ever done with partner recruitment. I think it was like in Q4, we added 42 partners.
Wow.
So we started with 40 partners when I started, a year in the program, and she recruited 42 in Q4. And these aren't just like, oh, Cory's just like grabbing everything. Like these partners generated revenue, 25% of them generated revenue in Q4. So we're already seeing, like, from an IPP perspective, what does that look like? How do we work with them, right? But that's what we did for partner acquisition. And it solved a massive, massive hole and pain point in our business.
That's actually very, very interesting. So I'll come back to the time to revenue or from a partner and all of that, just to sort of wrap my head around it. So we discussed a lot about partner onboarding. So there's onboarding, there's acquisition, then there's probably like I don't know what you would call it. Do you call it activation, or do you
activation's fine, right? Yeah, and onboarding, enablement, but yeah.
Perfect. Enablement. And then there's probably also going to be something like, hey, like you're giving value back to the partners. That's almost like a separate program in itself. And so I think let's start from the beginning. Like, how do you go about with the actual reach out to someone? Like, who do you reach out to? How do you reach out? How do you decide who to reach out?
Yeah, so that's part of that acquisition methodology, right? So now we fixed our inefficiencies, which means now we're set to scale. And when you hear set to scale, you a lot of times hear that for the program. I use set to scale based on the roles within our team, right? Caroline is now set up for success. She is set to scale. There are really little to no roadblocks in her way of accomplishing her number outside of her effort, right? But in addition to that, what we did is we said, you know what? What's the best way to if it takes 6 months for a partner, an agency, to be onboarded because they're learning a new methodology, they're learning a new product, what's the fastest way to get somebody in 2 months? And the best way to do that is hunt your competitors. So we basically go through, and we went on to, as an example, I'll share the details. We went on HubSpot's partner program, their directory, and we sorted to ClickUp, and we said these are all the partners that are HubSpot partners that are ClickUp partners. We created a sequence in HubSpot. We reached out to them manually first, right? So we get some responses, and then at that point in time, we dropped them into a sequence once they opted in, and we then market to them. And that has been the largest success that we have seen. And we'll go down the line. Eventually, we'll reach out to you, Monday.com partners. And the reason why this is the case is, look, we have partners now that sell ClickUp and they sell teamwork.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are separation in product needs for a customer, right? So it's not necessarily that we're taking business away. We're allowing the partner to be differentiated as far as, you need something that does this and you need something that does this. This is for this. This is teamwork.com, right? And that has been our pitch to these partners. It's like, hey, differentiate your third-party revenue. How do you make sure you're opening up your skill level, and you're opening up your market to accepting more within project management or within desk and So that's one, is go after it, actually do outbound efforts, and it's really not that hard. I think we stand in our own way 99% of the time. You can also pay somebody to scrape the list and go through and like find all of these people and email addresses, and you can manually reach out to them, right? So that's one. Is there's 3 levels to, by the way, this on our acquisition strategy. The first one is outbound. The next one is inbound, and the third one is internal. So then we have our inbound traffic. What we did in Q4 is I completely rebuilt with our marketing team all of our partner pages. I wrote all the content. I had the marketing team fix the content because English was not my best subject. But basically I was like, we need to rebuild these so they're aligned with our brand. And so we're removing confusion. We had a lot of solution partners signing up for affiliate because they couldn't find solution and so on. So that was step 1. Let's fix that process. So now when a solution partner comes to our partner pages and they go to opt in, it is a calendar link, specific calendar link for Caroline. So they don't automatically go into our program. They don't apply. They book time with Caroline, so Caroline can vet every single person that wants to be on our program, solution partners, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of step 1. So that's your inbound traffic, right? You're requesting interest. And then you have internal. And I think this is probably the number 1 most missed opportunity out there. Is I built relationships, and I started working with our account executives. I started meeting with our CSMs. I started meeting with our account managers and the onboarding individuals to say, what do you see? Like, what do you know about partnerships? And they didn't know anything about partnerships. They didn't know what we do, why we do it, right? Or what partners do. So I went education mode. I said, okay, no problem. I'm going to help you. Here's an example of when sales asks for an integration to NetSuite. So I go to the partner and I find the partner that can do that integration. Right. And so I started educating them on the use cases and scenarios. And all of a sudden, ding, 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 I created a channel that is called Partner Help. Wow. That now I push everybody to. So all of my internal teams are hitting me on the Partner Help saying, I need somebody that solves for this integration, or I need somebody that will do a full implementation of Teamwork. Right. So and then now I'm giving back to my partners. So there's reciprocity, right? And that we can go off on a tangent with the partner directory and stuff like that, but that is exactly how we said we're going to do our acquisition strategy. This is how we're going to get to 300. Is going to be this piece: internal, outbound, and internal.
Love that, by the way. So the idea of the entire, every time I listen to you, everything you say is very obvious. Like obviously there's like 3 channels.
It's true. Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought of it. Like I just would never have thought of, like I could go to speak with my sales folks. We're working with the exact same people. Like that's, again, it's obvious, but not obvious at the same time.
Well, I think that's the difference between obvious and intentional, right? Like, yes, you could go do it, but it's not until you go do it that you actually get them to care, right? Like your internal champions mean everything to you, from the representation of your own partner program,
Mhm.
right? Like having people say like, oh, interesting, the partner team are really making moves. They've come in, they can actually say, oh, Cory's working with solution partners, which are
Mhm.
professional services, and they're 2 to 50 employees and blah blah blah, right? The fact that they can do it is way more powerful than if my C-suite can do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's more of the write it down, make it part of your methodology, because if you don't, then you don't know what works and what doesn't work. And
Yeah.
I've become a big fan of that. I sucked at that. I used to hire people specifically with skill sets that I lacked, which was arguably smart, but it forced me to become better at documentation.
Mhm.
And it's really like, again, this is my methodology. I don't, 90% of it, I know it's going to work. The other 10%, I don't know. And I'm okay saying I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love that. Perfect. So I think we've discussed how did you reach out, how did you like the entire onboarding process, how did you automate all of that. We've also discussed a little bit about like so the different channels in the reach out or onboarding or whatever piece. uh, how do you sort of, and again, correct me if I'm not thinking about this in the right way, but how did you, let's say, from getting a partner to revenue, their entire cycle, what are things that you do and how did you reduce it? Because you said that you're getting revenue in Q4,
Hmm.
and
We're
teamwork
getting,
is,
some partners are generating revenue in 5 days.
yeah, but then also it's very impressive because teamwork is a great software, but then
Hmm.
it's a business management software which requires a lot of customization, and then I'm assuming so it
Hmm.
takes a while for people to onboard onto it. It's one of those softwares that it's not easy that, hey, you cannot just like onboard someone
Yeah.
fast. There's customizations required. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So I'd also add one thing I forgot to break down is we also went through our customer base and we looked at our customer base and we actually did a dupe search on email address from the domain name. And what that allowed us to see is we already had partners acting like partners in our ecosystem that were not partners. It's the fastest, easiest way to revenue is like, hey, come join the partner program and run everything under us, right? So that was one thing. I think the
By the
other
way,
thing that
just
we
like one
basically,
thing there, another one of your obvious but not intentional things.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
obviously you would do that, but yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, please continue.
yeah, it's these small things that add up to big things, right?
Yeah,
And so it's something as simple as that. It's again, just do a dupe search and how many email addresses are in these multiple applications, and then hunt those. Just reach out to them. Says, hey, it looks like you're helping our customers, right? And so that was part of that innate that acquisition process. Then we move into actual enablement onboarding, which start like getting a partner to revenue starts with acquisition. 100%. Most of us don't think about it that way.
hmm.
But when they submit an application, I ask them specifically, do you have anybody interested right now in teamwork.com? Right? In addition to that, because my partner acquisition person is asking, she'll message me and say, hey, just this partner just signed. He's got 3 people interested right now. Boom. I book a call with them. They book a call with me. I get on the phone call. I talk, all of this stuff, and I say, "Hey, Caroline mentioned you have 3 people that are looking at potentially project management. Is that accurate?" Yeah, it is. How can I help you win this business for teamwork.com? What do you need from us to be able to accomplish that, right? And sometimes it's pricing, sometimes it's product knowledge, but ultimately that is kind of step one. Is like, okay, great, that's it. Getting them beyond their first sale, that's a whole nother game, right? That's where you go into the inefficiencies we fixed in onboarding and enablement. So if you looked at
Mhm.
our onboarding enablement, she was busting her ass. She was working all kinds of hours and doing all kinds of stuff because that's just what she thought she had to do, right? She was answering partners' tickets, or the partners were messaging her directly and she was answering them. And I'm like, no, no, no. Send them to support. If they don't get a response within 24 to 48 hours, then we'll jump in and we'll kind of push support. I said,
Yeah,
but we have to get our partners to a point where they're in a habitual state of submit. Otherwise, they're going to come to us. And then we got 300 partners coming directly
yeah,
to us. That's not right. And then in addition to that, we can't create an SLA with support. And so some of it was just push it
yeah,
off. She wanted to own it because she's kind of like that mentality. Is like, I'm a winner. I'm going to get this done. I can do this in 5 minutes. So we went through that process and I figured out what was eating up her time. The next part was she was doing certifications, which weren't really that big of a deal when you're doing 5 a month new partners. As soon as we brought on 40, well, then it's 40 plus their employees. So now she has 55 people in the next cohort going through the certification process, of which she's emailing them all, but one by one, they're testing with her. Didn't make sense at all. So we said, okay, let's scrap it. Let's rethink how we're doing it. We turned all of what we're doing in certification into a LMS, and we launched what we call Partner Hub, which we already had an LMS. It's called 360 Learning is the one that we use. And we just basically called it Partner Hub. So we launched our Partner Hub, which is specific to partners. That way it allows us to dump in these trainings that sales gets. So we have a sales enablement guy that's a genius. He's really good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's out here building stuff for sales, and we're just taking it and dropping it into partners, saying, how do you position teamwork in the market? What are the 3 editions, the plan types that we have, and why are they different? What are our competitor wikis and knowledge? I don't need to create any of this stuff because I've created a place that I can then move it into. So we rebuilt our onboarding process with video, our own video. So I flew everybody into Denver, which is only 3 of us.
Wow.
And then we had a video guy do video intros. Hi, I'm Cory Snyder, or this is this, and so on. So we created some personalization. I know I'm on a bit of a tangent, but almost done. But
very,
basically,
this is very useful. This is actually very interesting.
Yeah. So then once we fix the onboarding process, now we can track partners going through onboarding. But then we rebuilt our partner certification to be product knowledge. It's just a learning course on product knowledge. Now, keep in mind, some of these partners are customers. They don't need it. Some of them are on competitor products, so they already understand the methodology, but some of them are not, which means this allows them to get onboarding a lot faster. But the great part about it is, again, we're leveraging resources and tools that are already being built. We're just saying, hey, can we have that too?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so we basically launched that, and now we're actually rethinking certification. Now we're actually launching in March. We're going to launch a live certification where partners have to fly into Denver, and we're going to do a full live certification on both of our products, which we've never done before. Mm-hmm. So we're really just trying to rethink of ways that we can get partners further bought in, but also streamline the process. So I removed a ton of stuff off of her plates, from the support tickets, from doing manual certifications. Now she can focus on what I need her focusing on, which is, how do I get partners to their first, their second, and their third sales, right? So her and I are aligned there. So she works partners that she's really educating and working partners that have no sales at all or haven't registered anybody. Hey, how do we get you up and running? What are you missing? What are we missing? Mm-hmm. Right? And so on. So that's how we've kind of teamed up.
I think one major takeaway for me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, right? So I think to get the quick wins, the easiest, not the easiest, but I think the lowest time effort or the fastest effort would be your onboarding your customers who were already acting like partners. They are the ones who probably got revenue fastest, right?
Yeah, what's interesting is the ones that got the revenue fastest were probably the ones using a competitor tool, right? And the reason why is there are times when let's be honest, we all have a partner program. There are times where we suck at doing a partner program. I'm a victim of that as well, in the sense that I didn't do what I needed to do to build a relationship and reciprocity with this partner, and so they're going elsewhere because they're not getting what they need. So we've really doubled down aggressively on time. Same methodology with sales. Time is money, right? Time kills deals. So as soon as we get the email intro, within an hour, even if it's at like 10 o'clock at night, it's the habit we're in right now. I'm not saying everybody needs to work these hours, but before I go to bed, I just check my email to see if we got a new partner. If we did, I reply back. Hey, I look forward to working with you. Make sure you grab time, right? And that's been intentional. My goal is to build this relationship and do what I feel that nobody else is doing, which is aggressively on the relational side, right? There's the conversation going around, which is relationships to revenue or revenue to relationships, and arguably you both are correct, right? If I put in a ton of time and effort into this partnership and I give them what they need and they don't go generate revenue, then great, we have a relationship, but it didn't generate revenue.
Yeah.
Right. But on the flip side, if I just focus solely on revenue from a partner, I will burn all of my partners, and I will have a failed program guaranteed if I'm not giving back, right? So, anyways, tangent, but yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no, this is very helpful. I think I have. So, just from a tech stack perspective, is there anything else on any piece of the partnership program? I know I wanted to maybe touch. Can you just, in very short answer, or just like shed some light on, okay, like how are you giving back to so many partners? Like I never understood that.
Yeah, so part of that is, again, a lot of times they don't understand, they being account executives, CSMs, and account managers, or even support agents, they don't understand why or when they should do it. And I think that's what we're trying to solve for is the why behind it, right? Use case. So I've had partners presented all hands, like a quick 10 minutes on who they are, what they do, and the very most important question: what would somebody say for you to say you need to talk to this partner, right? And so I'm getting my partners to say, if they mention integration, if they mentioned deeper implementation of teamwork.com, if they mention website, or they're struggling with their ad spend or whatever, right? We're giving them the use cases and scenarios so they could then come back and say, oh, I just had somebody do that. In addition to that, I'm listening to gong calls. So if I hear gong calls and the specific need pops up, I can reach out to the CSM directly and I can say, hey, I happen to hear this call. Sounds like they need some need on some integration work. Or as a perfect example, I heard this call about a customer asking for an integration, and the CSM didn't know that it existed. None of us knew it existed. But because when I'm on a sales call, habitually, when somebody mentions a tool, I search that plus teamwork.com. And so I did a quick search and it popped up, and I dropped the link of the integration that the company had done that we didn't know about to the CSM. Gave that to the customer, stickier customer usage, boom, right? So I'm also trying to help them out. I'm trying to hook them up. But it comes down to a very simple methodology. They don't know what our partners do and why they should get them involved. They don't know that, like, after 2 integrations, the churn rate drops and they become super sticky. They don't know, like, all of that kind of stuff that we know, we just assume everybody else knows, right? Even our executive team, arguably, doesn't know this stuff, right? So I think that's a missing element, is we forget that, like, our job is internally is to educate, right? To help them understand what those use cases are and why you give back. In addition to that, the other piece, which is at the very beginning, we talked about, have you spent any money? One of the tools that I implemented right away, or I pushed to implement right away, was Partner Fleet.
Which one?
Partner directory tool. Partner Fleet.
Okay.
Yeah, which is basically it's a partner. What we use it for, we only use the partner directory side of the house. So we had a directory. Marketing was building every single listing, right? So that's not efficient. That's not scalable. In addition to that, I don't want marketing having to make updates all the time anytime a partner wants to make an update. In addition to that, the filtering, we had 2 filters. That's not enough. It just wasn't efficient. It wasn't easy for our partners to get leads, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a strong representation of what we want. So we purchased Teamwork. We purchased Partner Fleet to get our directory up and running. And the benefit is the partners build the directories. I just approve them. I worked with my web and dev team to make sure that we're set up, and we're about to launch it here in about 2 weeks. A brand new directory. I have probably 8 different filters. They can search on keywords for NetSuite or for ads or whatever it is that they want to search for, the customer, the prospect, and the employee. That's why I build a directory, right? So now the employee, I'm not the bottleneck anymore for partner help.
Yeah.
They can go to the directory and say, hey, I found these 2 partners that do NetSuite integrations. Who do you recommend? And I could basically say, talk to them both, right? Reach out, have the customer reach out to them both, because then the customer decides who to do the integration through, not us, right? So anyways, that's kind of a tangent. That's where I've spent some money, is on Partner Fleet, which is a partner directory, which is part of giving back. Because if I can drive all of my internal teams to this page and I can get traffic there, awesome. It gives a potential of, hey, we're representing you on the website. Why don't you do the same for us on your website?
Awesome. Love that. So just very quickly then, just summarizing the tools that you have, right? So you're using DocuSign, Partner Stack, HubSpot, and you have a
DocuSign no more.
Right. You
Nope.
removed
We put it.
DocuSign. You're using
Yes, got rid of
Partner Stack or HubSpot? Which one are you using
that. So we use both. So we use
for the
HubSpot as our
form?
CRM. For the form, the application is 100% partner stack.
Okay, perfect. And then
Yeah.
you're using, if you had to scrape lists, you could use a person. So there's some
Yep.
spend there. For the outbound, how are you doing outbound? Which tool are you using?
Uh, Google searches.
No, no. So
We don't use it.
when you're
We don't
reaching out,
actually use a tool for that.
oh, okay. So you just
We're
like
just
through Gmail or something, you're sending out emails.
uh-huh.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Love that. And
Yeah.
then so there's
Keep it
360.
simple.
So partner fleet for the directory, 360 learn for um, the
LMS.
LMS. Yeah, and then for if you ever want to create videos, then and onboarding material and stuff, then there's a videographer, and then time from your team to if you're flying out to one place
Hmm.
and then just discussing stuff. So is that's like
Yep.
most, if not all, of the expenses, right?
Yep. And then on the integration side, we're starting to use, and we're going to start using on the solution partner side a little bit more is Reveal as well for
Nice.
partner overlaps. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Love
those are
that.
the tools we use.
This is
Yeah.
very
And we didn't even get, yeah, we didn't even get time to talk about the partner sales side of the house, which is what we're streamlining there. But yeah, that's kind of the least of it.
Mhm.
The beginning was the most important, which is acquisition and enablement. We solve those points, I can go get the revenue, right?
Yeah.
It's a matter of just how do we set ourselves up for success, and that's what we've done.
Love, this was very, very helpful. Can you maybe, so just to end up, is there anything that you want to add that I haven't asked, that I should have asked, would really help someone setting up their own partnership program?
So I'll add two things. The
Mhm.
first one is ask questions, man. Reach out to people, right? Will Taylor, Justin Zimmerman, there's been a bunch of people that literally learned, I would say, 5 years of knowledge in a very short period of time because they just met with a bunch of people. Hey, can I pick your brain? Hey,
Yeah.
why are you doing it? How are you doing it? Same thing I did with my team. So ask a ton of questions. Like you're not in this like silo or anything like that. You have hundreds of thousands of partnership people in the world that are happy to just like spend 30 minutes with you.
Mhm.
I'm happy to do that as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is create a methodology. I think it's completely underestimated in saying, what's my methodology for partner acquisition? What's my methodology for partner management? What's my methodology for partner onboarding? What's my methodology for partner enablement? Right? What in whatever positions you have on your team, create those methodologies so that way you know when you go through the process whether you broke something, whether you're efficient, whether you're not efficient, how do you become more efficient?
Yeah.
All of those things become visual because it doesn't align with your methodology, right? Or your methodology doesn't work. But what within your methodology did work, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about the inbound, the outbound, the internal, right? And then I go deeper on each individual one, but I can communicate that to the C-suite. And that's what they care about. They care about data, methodologies, and tactics. What everybody else cares about is KPIs. How did partnerships help me
Hmm.
generate my KPI? So
Yeah.
how did partnerships reduce my churn or increase my activation, right, on the CSM side?
Mhm.
How did on the sales side, how did a partner help me get this to close because they can do the integration or whatever it may be, right? There's different outlets, but create your methodology, create those relationships, and just like be intentional about it. I know that's a buzzword, I get it, but that would be my last 2 cents.
So I think after today, it's not a buzzword. You've clearly made a
Yeah.
differentiate between
Yes.
obvious and intentional. By the way, it's very just one little thought. What you just said about helping other people achieve their KPIs, SEO is such a similar channel because to scale SEO, you need to scale every other marketing department except SEO.
Hmm.
You need to scale the tech team, the content team, and then you need to make them do things that you want to do for your own KPIs.
Hmm.
So, and I've lived that life. So I think when you were saying that, hey, you need to help them achieve their KPIs, that and pizzas help a lot. So just by
Which is funny because that's like the whole thing of like pizzas. It's like there's a hole and then you fill it with pizzas.
Yep.
But yeah, we didn't dive into obviously how do you build better relationship with your partners and things like that. But to me, like from a tactical perspective, if you want to be successful, you want to build a very successful program, stick to the basics. When I was in sales and I was a number one sales for 10 plus years, it was only because of one thing. I had a methodology and I followed that methodology. I had a crap month every 12 months. And if I went back and I listened to my calls, it was because I skipped motivation, or I skipped opportunity, or I skipped referral, or whatever that methodology that I had at that point. So that is the only way we're going to scale across the board, whether you're in sales or success or whatever. It's having your methodology, sticking to it, and tweaking it as you get data, as you get knowledge.
I love how you casually just drop. I was the number one salesperson for 10 years. And that was just like a talking point in the rest of it. But I think
it's not an arrogant thing. I'm just saying
course,
the reason why I was because I built 30 partnerships. My own internal, I built my own lead source. So that's the reason why I love it.
Perfect. Okay. So I think if you can give a one line or very short pitch for teamwork.com, either for partners or customers or both, like what would that be?
Yeah, I would say one, we're building a world-class partnership program. And what I mean by that is not just, taking, it's also giving, right? We have a lot of methodology, a lot of things in place that we're putting down. And you can ask our partners that have been in the program for a year, what has changed in the last 3 months? They're going to say a lot, right? The engagement level is way better, and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why you want to partner with us, is because we do care and we do want to drive you revenue. We do want to grow your business. By helping you grow your pipeline as a partner, you naturally will generate revenue for teamwork.com, right? That's one thing. The second thing would be teamwork.com.
One question around that. So who all would you want to partner with you? So is it just agencies? Who else is it?
Yeah. So our probably, if you were to look at our IPP, our ideal partner profile, agencies, resellers, professional services, anybody that's basically helping a customer implement project management or a methodology around project management is really a good fit for us.
Perfect. Yeah. You were saying something. Please continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then teamwork.com, we've really created this power product. This product that does project management very, very efficiently. And we've dialed in who we work with, how we work with them, and why we work with them, and why we're building a product around them. And that comes into what we call PSA, professional services, right? And that's who we're trying to solve for. That's who we're trying to help. We also have a product called Desk, which is similar to like a Zendesk, a support ticketing software. So if you're ever in need of those tools, let me know. But I run my partner program, a lot of it off of projects, by the way. Project management.
Love that. And if someone had to reach out to you, what's the best place to do that?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the easiest place to reach out to me. I think it's /CD Cory D Snyder, I think is my LinkedIn. But yeah, look me up. That's the easiest way. If you're local to Arizona, happy to do coffee with you in person as well. Just did that yesterday. So
love that. Perfect. Thanks, Cory. This was amazing. I'll probably use this to implement or rebuild a partnership program as well.
Yeah, if I can help, let me know. No problem.
I will. I definitely will. Thanks, Cory.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the TLDR podcast. In case you're wondering, Spear Growth is a marketing agency. We help B2B SaaS companies like yourself with ads and SEO. Check out our website at speargrowth.com. That is SPEARGROWTH.com. Just like this, every episode starts with a 1-minute summary of what we discuss. Pick the next episode to listen to based on what you can implement right away. And after you implement any of these tactics and see an impact, we'd appreciate you drop us a note on podcast@speargrowth.com.